guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Roy Joes from Pro Zero Racing. Today we are doing some more bits on the pink Focus. So I've got the Turbo Smart wastegate that I didn't show you in the last video when I was doing the AM fittings for the turbo, but now we're going to put some AM fittings on this on this wastegate, and then we are going to do some more bits inside of the car. Now, because we're retaining the factory loom and we're also retaining the factory ABS system, there is a certain part of the ABS system that I need to put back in, basically. There's a little sensor that usually sits underneath the driver's seat. So your sensor, it's a G sensor, basically picks up the movement of the car, and if it detects heavy braking and all this kind of stuff, it works the ABS system to ensure your brakes don't lock up, as well as when you traction control when you go through corners and stuff like that as well. So what we've got to do is I've got to make a bracket for under the seat. So I'm going to take the seat out, make the bracket, drill some holes, put some riv nuts in, put the sensor on, make sure it's sat level. Then I've got to put standard ECU on the car. Then I've got to use Ford IDS to calibrate the whole thing basically together, and then it's good to go. So let's get started on this wastegate, and then we'll move on to the car and a few other little bits and bobs as well. Okay, so here we have the Turbo Smart wastegate, and what I've got to do is, as you can already see, I've blanked off with some nice black blanks to make this look a little bit stealthier. With some black blanks on here, and what we've got to do now is put two AM fittings into these vacuum ports. Now these are the same again, these are a quarter MPT as they were on the turbo. So there's the wastegate, and once I've been through my magical box of goodies, we'll find the AM fittings. 2 times AM fittings. Now someone asked me from the last video what company I use for AM fittings. So these are from Torx UK. Now I've used quite a lot of fittings in terms of Goodrich and Torx and a few other companies like Advocult and stuff as well. The Torx ones are, in my eyes, the best bang for the buck. They are really great quality. I have very little issues with them. Their customer response time and delivery time super quick. So I tend to use the Torx just because of the price and the fact that they get them to me really quickly. So same again as was on the turbo. These fittings here are a 1/4 MPT fitting, a quarter MPT fitting. So same again, it's a tapered fitting. Be careful if you are doing this to your wastegate that you don't over tighten them, because not only will you strip the thread out on here, you'll also strip these out, and then you've got to order more of these, and then you're gonna have a bad time trying to retap the thread on this. So let's give this, see what I mean? Straight away, not even got a quarter way into the thread and we're already having issues. So I'm going to tap through this to check and make sure everything's all good, and same on this bottom part as well, but they shouldn't have any issues at all. They should go in a little bit further than that. So let's go and check these threads and make sure everything's good to go. Okay, so the real important part of this now is that I'm only chasing the thread. I'm not actually re-tapping it. I'm just chasing it to make sure there's no debris inside the thread and that everything moves as it should. Quite good. Just one full run through to make sure. Okay, so you've got to be really careful with the bottom one. The top one's an open casing on the other side. The bottom part of this is actually blocked off slightly, so you'll only get so far in with the tap. So just be super careful if you do this at home. Just time and check through on this top one. And there we have it. Pretty simple one. Just check the threads, make sure everything's all good to go. Now we'll get the fittings in. Okay, so there we have it. There's our 2 AM feeds onto our Turbo Smart 50mm Pro Gate. What we're going to do with this then is, the reason we're running 2 ports is we can now apply pressure through the boost solenoid to the bottom and the top. It makes boost a little bit more predictable for my tuner, so we can control the wastegate a lot easier with the boost controller that we're using, or the solenoid that we're using. We still use the stock, well I say stock, the ECU still controls the boost. We're not using an aftermarket electronic boost controller like the Turbo Smart e-boost or anything like that. We're actually utilising the stock setup through obviously the Silex ECU, and we're going to be using a Mac valve to control these two. A lot of guys will run the stock solenoid. I would personally prefer to run a stock solenoid just because of the price. They're cheap, they work, and they tend to take a lot more abuse. Not had a very good past with these Mac boost solenoids on multiple modified cars that we get coming out of work, but due to the fact that I want to run the AM fittings rather than a silicone hose, I've had to obviously move on to something that I can run the quarter MPT fitting on, which is the Mac boost solenoid. So we're going to be we're going to be running that. So that's all done. We'll pack it away. Let's go and do some bits on the car, get the seat out, and get this bracket made up and mount the. I think it's an access sensor. I'm pretty certain it's a G sensor is what it's called. Ford have a very weird name for it. I managed to find my old one out, but yeah, we're gonna get that on. So this is the sensor that I was on about. This is a yaw rate sensor. So it basically tells the car where it's at and what it's doing and whether the body's rolling or whether your nose is dipping, etc, etc. So as you can see, there's a bracket on the back of here. Now this used to mount to the original seat mount that was in the car. Unfortunately, I've got rid of the original seat mount because I've got welded seat rails. I've got T45 welded seat rails now. So we're going to have to make a bracket for this to sit on top of the new rails or mount it from the floor. I'm still yet to decide exactly where I'm going to go. What we're going to do is going to get the seat out. We'll have a look at whereabouts we can fit this with the wiring loom as we've got it and go from there basically. So let's rip the seat out and have a nosy to see where we can fit this thing. So we've got the seat out, and what we're looking at here is the 2 welding T45 seat rails that I put in. Now, originally, this module used to sit down here like this, right on the base of the floor, pretty much. Used to be 2 welding rails, 2 spot welded rails that came across, which is where the seat's mounted onto. Obviously, we've got rid of them now. So we're going to have to come up with some form of bracket to hold these onto here. Now, I'm kind of wanting to keep this original bracket, and I'm thinking, just bend this top tab here to hold that there. It sits nicely up against the rail. Try and get it as level as we can. 2 riv nuts into T45 rail, happy days. Or, take it off this original bracket, and either mount it directly up above like that, or below. I'm starting to think that actually keeping this bracket might help. If I make some space on the bracket, I think we can make it work. So let's do some modificating on this to get that in. And the plug is literally over there, and I've tied it away. Okay, second thoughts. No, can't have it in front. I'm starting to think somewhere maybe up there. Let me have a think. action. I know what I'm going to do. So we're going to get rid of this bracket and we're going to run the sensor on top of the bar like so. So what I'm going to have to do now, drill some holes in the T45 welding rails. We're going to have to go for, I believe, an M6, I'm pretty certain, which is what these are. M6 stud, but we're going to go an M6 bolt into an M6 riv nut. So we're going to have to drill the holes out now for the riv nuts. So quickly mark these up, drill the holes, put the riv nuts in, and hope to God that it fits. Now, I've just measured this under the seat. I've got the passenger side because the rails are exactly the same. It does fit, ever so slightly, a little bit of a squeeze, but it should be nicely secured in there and we shouldn't have any issues. So it should stay put and do what it's supposed to do, which is read things. Technical term, read things. Oh, okay. So, of course, typical Rory style, spanner in the works. Now, for those of you OG viewers, you'll remember that when I was in my last unit, there was an orange car in there. It was Luke Gardner's old car. It was a Dream Science development car. And me being me, I was like, well, the car's there. The guy that I was basically storing the car for was going to do some bits and bobs to it. Pretty much we were stripping the whole car anyway. So I took a few bits off the car that we were possibly going to need for mine. Now, me being me, I was like, oh, I'll keep a spare one of these just in case. Turns out, this is a pre-facelift spare one. So, it doesn't fit my car. The Focus facelift wiring loom is slightly different on the interior because of all the extra stuff that they added in on the facelift cars. The plug for this, being one of them, is different between the 2007 and the 2008 onwards, the facelifts. I am now going to try and dig through about 4 years of crap to try and find my sensor, and I'm pretty certain that it may or may not have already disappeared somewhere. So I'm now going to trace down one of these sensors. It is a key part of the car. I need it. It works with the ABS module, so this basically keeps the car happy. Although I may or may not have something on the way that changes whether I need this or not. I don't know. I've got to speak with the guys about it, but I'm pretty certain I'm still going to need one. So if you have a facelift one of these, hit me up. I'll pay for it. I need one ASAP. I've got to sort the bracket and stuff out. But I'm pretty certain the mounting points are still the same between the pre-facelift and the facelift, so I can still use this for mock-up, and then I'll just have to bolt the new one in when it gets here. So that's a little bit of a spanner in the works. It's nothing too major. There's still a few more bits and bobs I want to do on the car today, so we'll crack on into those and we'll go and we'll throw this out of the way. Lovely. quick bracket, quick mock-up bracket anyway. I think I might make it out of steel. That's out of aluminium, so it's a little bit more flexible, but that'll bolt straight on to where we want it. And for those of you saying I can't get the plug on here, don't worry, wrong sensor. I've got a new one on the way. The new plug sits up the top in the middle here, so it'll be completely out of the way of this. But that's it. It's pretty simple just to hold this in place. Let's go and fit it on the car now and show you what it looks like. Okay, so there we have our bracket in and done, ready to hold the yaw sensor. Now, obviously I've had to change the yaw sensor because that plug is a facelift plug and the pre-facelift yaw sensor is different. Who'd have known? Next thing is then, we're going to take these out. I'm not going to tell you why, but we're going to take them out. So let's get into that. So we've done a couple of bits on the car, just some tiny small bits that I want to show you guys, like the kind of stuff I'm having to go into when I'm doing this. Obviously the bracket for the yaw sensor is quite a different one for me. I'm not really used to metal work, but I'll do what needs to be done. Obviously the dash or the clocks have come out. Some of you may understand what's happening here, some of you may not. So for those that don't really understand or know, check out the next video because that's where you'll see exactly what's going on with that. And obviously taking the battery out because that needed charging. It's been in the car for like 2 years and I've not charged it once. So yeah, we're just going to get that charged up and then we're ready to rock and roll. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Ciao for now.